It's almost 2022, and many of us are getting ready for a new journey ahead. For some of us, that means relaxing and just taking some quiet time after this busy Christmas season. And for others, it's about enjoying quality time with friends and family, just reflecting on the year soon to be behind us. And for others, it's a time to get going on an action plan for the year ahead. Now, this action plan normally entails coming up with lofty New Year's resolutions that we may not even revisit for the rest of the year. With all that's happened in recent years, we may have gained even some new perspective on what's important to us and on where we want our lives and our careers to go. With this in mind, this episode of Wealth Talks will look at how to start the journey of achieving your dreams for the new year. So thank you so much to everyone for joining us. Welcome to Wealth Talks. My name is Darian Reed, and I will be your moderator for this evening. So just remember to share your comments and questions in the chat, and our team, as usual, will be responding to those questions and comments. But before we start looking at how to navigate your financial planning for 2022, we want to look at how you can actually map your journey, your life goals. With us today, we have Nadine Burrows-Seaga, and she is a mindset and leadership coach who will be telling us about the importance of making a plan for our goals and how vision boards can play a role in accomplishing these goals. So let me just tell you a bit about Nadine. So Nadine here, she considers herself to be naturally warm, vivacious, a confident, energetic person, and I can attest to that she really is. And Nadine started leading in her life right out of high school while attending university part-time, becoming the rookie of the largest insurance company in Jamaica. She was hugely successful and moved on to media to manage what was once the top talk radio station in the country. Her mandate was to resurrect it and bring it back to its glory days. She achieved her goal in 4 short years. Nadine is also the chief energy officer of her company, People Development Consultants, and is fast becoming one of Jamaica's and the region's most sought after leadership coaches, where she teaches and coaches her clients in applying her workplace success system to meet their business objectives. She's also certified in ProSci Change Management. She's an energy leadership index master practitioner and internationally trained and certified mindset and leadership coach. On the more personal side, she's married to Burrows-Seaga and has 2 kids from her previous marriage and 2 bonus kids. Welcome, Nadine.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. All right, so mindset and leadership coach. So you have obviously a lot of experience in life coaching and guiding persons in making plans for their journey ahead.
Correct.
When did you get started?
I started with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, as you introduced, I have achieved a lot of the goals that I've set out achieving. And one of the things that I realized that I was doing was, and a lot of people don't realize is even when you do the vision boarding, that you actually have to become the person you want to become.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to bring that person forward. So I work a lot around helping people to see their present self, their future self,
Mm-hmm.
and their past self, and really understanding how to make those 3 selves work towards where you're going.
Okay, good, brilliant. So just to be clear, for those who might not understand, but I mean, it's self-explanatory, but let's not take anything for granted. What exactly is a vision board?
Okay, so a vision board is a physical representation of the goals that you have for yourself or the dreams. Some people call it dreams, some people call it goals, right? And what you want to do with a vision board is that you take those thoughts out of your head and you put it on something that you can now look at, almost as something separate from you. And it seems like, well, why don't I just keep it in my head? Well, you want to put something out there so that you can actually build on it. And you want to use a vision board, not like, in the introduction, you spoke about people who kind of have it as a once and done.
Mm-hmm.
You want to actually build on that vision board. And so when you take it out of your head and you put it out on paper, you can see what is it that you need to tweak, what you need to fine tune. As new thoughts come to you, you can add it to that image that you have in front of you. And the other thing is that you want to put that vision board somewhere where you can see all the time.
Mm-hmm. I guess it helps to make the goals, I mean, more real.
It
Realer.
definitely does. I
Mm-hmm.
like that, real. It definitely does help to do that. And so there are a couple of things that you would want to start to putting on that vision board. You want to put things that are going to inspire you.
Mm-hmm.
So, we all have an imagination. And, sometimes, unfortunately, we think that the imagination is for when you're a child. But I want to tell you that your imagination is a gift that you have, and you can use it for all your life,
Definitely.
right? So you want to think about the things that is inspiring for you. And you want to utilize all your senses on your vision board.
What do you mean by that?
So usually you put pictures. So in your
Mhm.
mind's eye, maybe it is that you're wanting to live in a particular house, or you want a particular car, or maybe it's a lifestyle you want. And what you want to do is start to create or to find images that represent what it is you want. And I love to encourage my clients to utilize all their senses. So in this home or this car, when you're envisioning yourself in it,
Mm-hmm.
think about, is it leather? Is it fabric? What
Okay.
color is it? Whatever it is. And then take those pieces, get fabric like that, and add it to. So you're not only putting the car in there, but you're putting something that you can actually walk by and touch and feel.
Mm.
Then you want, think about your senses. Think about the smell of your space in your house.
So, for example, if I want a house and I want to smell like roses or whatever,
You
I put
get some
the house
roses.
on the vision board, and I also put
Put some
roses.
roses, something that's going to
Okay.
invoke your smell. Remember, you're going to put this vision board somewhere where you can see it
Mm-hmm.
and that you're able to add to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, another reason why you want to do a vision board, it's, all of us have this idea in our mind about this dream or this goal, but you want to make it real, taking it out and then physically adding to it
Mm-hmm.
is you fueling that fire.
Yeah, and it almost seems as if you're becoming even more specific with the goal.
Very, very specific, and that's important because when we talk about the steps now,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a lot easier for you to make those steps. So you want to use your smell, your sense of smell, your sense of touch, where you're using your sight. You want to put words that invoke something, anything that's going to create that shift inside. When you
Mm-hmm.
read it or you see it, you know how sometimes you hear something, you might have heard it before, but somehow it impacts you and it creates a shift. Anything like that that is going to create an emotional movement for you inside,
Yes.
you want to put it on that because you want to pass it all the time. You want to see it and you want to have that feeling happening inside of you because there's just a couple of things that cause actions. How you think,
Mm-hmm.
what that thought invokes in you, which is your feeling, and how that feeling fuels the actions that you need to take.
Okay. All right. So 2022 is around the corner.
Yes.
And people, when we talk about vision boards, we normally talk about it from the standpoint of, a kind of new beginning, a start line or starting line of sorts. Why do people tend to create vision boards at the beginning of the year?
Well, I think the beginning of the year represents the possibility of new things. Like I can just put this old thing behind me now and I can start afresh. So it represents a fresh start. And that's always a good thing, right? I mean, you can do that anytime, right?
Yes.
Though we're talking about in the new year, you could actually do it in the middle of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, it's a time for people to just kind of close the door on what has happened or what has gone wrong or what hasn't gone as ideally as they would have liked and just see this new year as a fresh start. And that's great.
And just to be clear, it doesn't necessarily have to be a vision board for the year. It's just a matter of whenever the goal that you have, the particular goal that you have, the time period in which you want to achieve it. So I can have a vision board for 6 months.
You can have a vision board for any time. You can
Mhm.
actually have a vision board for your big goal. We'll talk
Okay.
a little bit more about, all right, well, what do I want to achieve this year? So some people do vision board for 5 years. This is my 5-year goal. And then they select one thing. Now, there's some of us who are probably watching this that want to achieve a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Pick one. Pick one to
Okay.
accomplish for this year. Because when it's almost like you're sabotaging yourself when you, all right, well, I want these 5 things and I'm going to start on this, I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to go to this and stop that. And you don't want to do that. You
Mm-hmm.
really want, that brain of ours wants a bullseye. So you want to choose one thing. So you can have the big vision board for your 5-year plan or your ultimate plan.
Yes.
And then you just choose one thing that you're going to focus on for this year that you're going to work on and focus on that one thing for that year.
Okay. All right. So for persons who want to begin the process of start, creating a vision board, people who have never done it before, or those who probably have and probably put it down, like myself, and want to start the process once again, what are the steps?
So you have to go into your mind first, right? As I
Mm-hmm.
said, invoke that imagination. Like, what is it that you really want? Once you start to get clear on that, then there are some tools that are out there. Some people use the cork boards. Some people just use simple cartridge paper. I have clients, I personally just use a, um, a diary,
Mm-hmm.
and I just put the pictures in that diary, cutting out words that mean something to me
Yes.
or something that inspires me. So you want to just start. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. As I said, cardboard, paper. You can make it very beautiful. There's a lot of ideas on Pinterest. You can start and see what works for you.
Yes.
But what works for one person doesn't work for another, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure that it's something that you're going to do. Now, it may be that you decide that you're going to sit down with yourself or with your friends and you're going to have that one day, call it party. In today's world, we want to find a reason to have a little fun with our friends. You
Yes.
can actually make that something that you do with your friends, where you sit down and you bring your tools, your scissors, all of those things, and you put it on paper. But the gold, the gold in vision boarding is once you are clear about what that goal is in your mind, and it's going to be an ongoing process, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to think about who is that person that has achieved it. You want to jump right into the future.
Oh, okay.
Who is that person that has achieved it? How is she thinking or him? What are the ideas that's coming up? How are they walking through their life? How are they establishing themselves with their friends? How are they interacting with the people in their lives? That's a piece that a lot of us forget. So getting clear about who that person is and then bringing that person forward and acting as if you've actually achieved it.
Okay. Got that. So along the journey, you're becoming a new person in
That's
order
it.
to achieve
To
this
achieve
goal.
the thing.
Okay.
So you become the person that achieves it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you walk towards achieving it,
Which is not the same person who started it
which is
with the
definitely not.
goal.
So it's almost like the goal now is a byproduct. Like the person you become is the
Mm-hmm.
is a
That's the
piece.
prize.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. So people I know probably look at the concept of vision boarding as a kind of airy fairy thing. You know, what do you have to say to them about how they view this concept of vision boarding? And also, having identified the goals, what do we do now? Do we just leave it up to the universe to sort it
No,
out for us?
you do. Well, for those persons who say it's hairy fairy, well, I want you to think about what it is that you want and how effective your life has been in terms of have you been able to achieve it. And as I said, vision boarding sometimes it's just that person who is able to visualize things in their minds and they think they're not vision boarding, but they actually are.
Mm-hmm.
So try it, put it out, take it out for this year, put it out on paper and see the difference between how effective your goal attainment is, because the idea of vision boarding is not just to create a vision, it's to actually achieve the vision, achieve the goal that you set out. So do a comparison. I mean, it's 1 year in your life, right? So try it. Regarding the steps to take. So when you cast yourself now and you're clear about this person who has in fact achieved this goal, the first question I like to ask my clients, right? Okay, well, what did that person do? What was that first step the person did?
Mm-hmm.
So she's achieved it or he's achieved it.
Okay.
What's the first thing you went and did?
Present self versus future self.
Present self.
Okay.
So have future self and present self have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you cast yourself to that future self and you have in fact achieved the goal, ask yourself the question, what did Nadine do to achieve this? What was her first step she made
Mm-hmm.
to do it? And what you want to do, ultimately, you know, when you ask the question, be prepared to answer. Sometimes we ask ourselves the question and we kind of just continue moving forward without allowing that answer to come. Allow that answer to come. What is in fact the first step?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to discover that you actually know more than you think you know.
Yeah.
Right? So you know, for example, that the first step for me is maybe making a list of clients that I want to contact for the year. That's making a list is so easy. It's too easy to not do. So ultimately, where you're going with this concept is that you want to break down all your actionable steps into very simple steps that it would be ridiculous not to do it.
Okay,
It's
got
almost too easy to not
that. To not
do.
do. Mm-hmm.
So that the steps are not this giant step that require a whole lot of things.
Yes.
So that's the first thing. So you just decide. I mean, everybody has different goals. So, you know, let us say that, let me use me.
Yes, I was going to ask you to use
I love
yourself.
to use
Be very specific so
very
that we can
specific.
drive the point home.
So you mentioned, for example, that I was the rookie of the insurance company, right?
Yes.
It was Life of Jamaica back then. This was 30 years ago. Or probably shouldn't have said that, right?
Don't look
But
like it though.
Oh, thank you. But the truth is that I decided, the first question was, why the hell not?
Mm-hmm.
I started off with the first idea that I wanted to be rookie of the branch. And then 3 months in, I'm like, hold on. Why am I only wanting to be the rookie of the branch? Why can't I be rookie of the entire 19, 20 branches? I'm going to be rookie of the entire company.
Big dream.
And
big
so
goal.
what did it take? It took very few things. The thing that the problem is for a lot of us is that the steps seem too easy or too simple to be
True.
to be able to bear fruit.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is not in its simplicity. The problem is its consistency.
That's it. Yeah.
Am I willing to do this every single day? And what is it that I'm prepared to give up for this goal, for this dream, for this future that I think is mine? So I started to think about this and think about money in this way. I mean, we're going to hear more about money. But I just said, you know what? There's a pile of money out in the world waiting for me. It has my name on it. It's just for me. And as a matter of fact, if I don't get it, it's just going to sit there. It's not even going to anybody else because everybody has their own pile of money.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, well, then we're not going to let that money go to waste. Plus, I wanted to buy a BMW. I wanted to buy a house. I wanted all things. So I decided I'm going to go for the BMW first. So that was clear.
Okay.
So it was the rookie of the branch because that's money. And then the item that I was going to use it for was this. And so I had this blue BMW in my mind. It was a 320i. I remember it exactly. I think it was the first time I actually decided to do this whole vision boarding.
You put that on your vision board?
Put that on my vision board.
How specific were you with that one?
Oh, my 320i. I remember it. This is 30 years later. 320i, a blue. There was an actual name for the blue, which I don't remember the name.
Oh, that's cool.
And I saw myself driving in that car. And so I just decided the first step was looking at the prospects.
Okay.
Yes, looking at the potential prospects. So I had to get over myself with a lot of things, like getting over people saying no to me. When you go to sell them insurance, they say no. I had to get over that and not make that mean anything about me. So I had to separate myself from it.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know me. Obviously, they're going to say no. What does that mean? It don't mean anything about me.
Yeah.
It means that they're not ready. Okay, maybe I need to go tweak this and do this. So there's a price that you have to pay for the dreams that you have, right? And you have to decide, is your future self worth the price that you're paying?
Mm-hmm. So are you
And
willing
it
to
was
adapt
always us.
and find a different way?
It's always, well, for me, all my dreams were worth the adjustments I needed to make.
Nice.
And so at the end of the year, so I was the rookie of the year. I was
Congrats.
the rookie of the whole company. I was the rookie of the branch. I was the rookie of the whole company. And it just showed me that, I had to walk around like the person who was actually the winner.
Yeah, your future self.
I had to walk around like the future self. I had to approach people like my future self. I had to approach people very confidently. I had to not take the no's personally. I had to drive. I was driving a Suzuki Swift GTI at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I had to drive in the GTI like I was driving in the BMW.
Yeah.
I had to really
Vision
go
that,
there
see
with
that.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned consistency. Before we started, I was sharing with you that I had created a vision board in 2016. And I always tell my friends that I think it was one of the most successful years I've had because I put everything on it, very detailed. I was still in school at that time. I was at UE.
Yeah.
And, major goals of getting A pluses and A's in different subjects. And it's something that just don't happen when you study the languages. It's very difficult. You have to really put in the work. And I ended that semester with all A's, and in a particular course that I really wanted to get A plus in because, and you mentioned it, the consistency. It's a matter of putting it on paper. And every morning I opened my eyes, it was the first thing I saw because it was on cartridge paper. I plastered it on the wall and I kept seeing it. And I know some people, they do it like on their laptops because
Yeah.
that's the thing you use the most, or their phone screen.
Yeah, because when they open it, they see it there.
Yeah, so you have to write it down and continue to see it, continue visioning it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say too that, as I said, the thought, the thing is to take it out of your brain.
Yes.
I mean, put it out in front of you so you can add to it. Listen, I have a son who is a golfer, right? He's when he was a junior, he's now 20. He was the Caribbean champion, and he is the number one golfer in Jamaica,
Nice.
right? So his vision and his goal for himself is to be a PGA player.
Yeah.
And so he uses the same tools. I mean, in his room, what I've done is I've created his whole room as a vision board. He has all his
You created
photos
it for
there.
him.
Well, he's there. I mean, he has all these. All I did was put up the shelves.
Okay.
So he could see all his
Just like a
awards.
motivation.
He gets up every day and that's what he sees.
Nice.
So he's working towards what he's seeing and he's becoming that person that is already there. So it works. And so I would just encourage, for those of you who have found this, who have heard about this vision boarding and think a little skeptical, you've heard 2 stories here about the things that has happened in our lives as a result of taking our vision out of our brain, putting it on paper, and fueling that fire, stoking that flame.
All right, so it's the end of 2021, and these past 2 years have been a bit difficult for a lot of persons. So you can imagine that some of the goals were not achieved. What advice do you have for those people who might be discouraged? What do they do now?
Okay, so that's another thing that our brain does, right? It tends to default into us being not enough or we can't do anything and see why. And listen, those are practice thoughts. So you really want to practice some new thoughts and be open to recognizing that, okay, so you might have set it to achieve in a year and it didn't happen. But it's still possible for you. And instead of beating ourselves up, which is our tendency as human beings, we wouldn't be human
Naturally.
if we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Just start to practice a new thought. So you're going to be carrying two thoughts in your head. One where, oh, but I didn't do it. And then one that perhaps create a line for yourself that you can believe, like, okay, well, I'm going to give it another effort. I'm going to give a daily effort. I'm going to commit to this now, and I'm going to continue. So it's done. You can't change what has happened or what you didn't achieve, but what you can do is actually change the meaning it is having for you. What are you making you not achieving that goal mean?
Mm-hmm.
What are you making that mean about you? And it doesn't have to mean anything.
Yeah.
It can just mean that, okay, So I learned some stuff. What did you learn?
Yeah.
And what skill sets now that you've discovered about yourself that you can apply going forward? So you can use the past for things. I'm not someone who spent a lot of time in the past, but utilizing what you can to serve you is the way I would suggest that anybody, focus on the past. So anything from there that was a learning opportunity, learn it, apply it today, and step forward.
And if nothing else, the last 2 years have given us a lot of lessons. So there's a lot to learn.
And we've all learned a lot. Are we
We
willing to, own the things that we've learned and frame it in such a way where it serves us?
Yes.
Is going to be the question that you might have to answer for yourself. And when you ask yourself the questions, be willing to sit and hear what the answers are.
Thank you so much, Nadine, for all of that. We found it very informative, and I can guarantee you I will be doing a vision board for 2022.
Awesome.
And for you, our viewers, let us know in the chat whether you are into the vision boarding concept. Do you think you will do it? Tell us in the chat. So we're now moving to another discussion, one that I'm really excited about. We have with us VM Wealth Management Advisor, Trace Gale, and he joins us now to talk about how you can stabilize financially after the holiday spend and maximize on investment opportunities for 2022 with an effective financial plan. So now Trace Gale is a marketing and sales professional with approximately 15 years experience, cross-industry experience. His experience spans hospitality, telecommunications, banking, and finance in that order, right?
In that order.
All right, and he's an alumnus of the prestigious Kingston College. I mean, it's no Arden, but we can forgive him. So Trace joined the VM Wealth team in April 2019 as a wealth advisor with a focus on corporations, so that's small, medium, and large corporations. In this role, he acts as a guide for corporations to create and maximize on the best investment and business solution opportunities. Trace holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Tourism Management from the University of the West Indies Center for Hotel and Tourism Management, Nassau, Bahamas, and he's here in a different capacity as wealth advisor and the man who can help us stabilize our finances. Trace, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
So Jamaicans, we tend to do a lot of big spending come Christmas time. Gifts are to be bought, curtains must change, sheets set, the whole works. Food, all of that. What happens come January morning 2022? How do we stabilize and just get back on track with our finances?
First and foremost, I think initially it starts with you budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
So planning for this financial year. Plan your monthly spend. If you are taking loans to do your spending for the Christmas, then you pay down those loans, right? In your budget, you are going to inject investment. Treat it as an expense and ensure that it is paid on a monthly basis. Mm-hmm. So you can look at it in two ways. You can look at it as an expense, or you can look at it as you paying yourself, right? And ensure that you remain consistent throughout the year. If you are able to start in January, where it tends to be tougher than the rest of the months, trust me, it becomes easier when you now approach December, and you will not have that financial crunch heading into the next January.
Okay, got that. So we just came out of a conversation where we were talking about vision boarding and goals. Mm-hmm. When we come over to the financial side, we are talking about SMART goals. Mm-hmm. Tell us more about that. What are SMART goals?
All right, so goals differ from individual to individual. When it comes to investment, it's not a one shoe fit all kind of thing. All right, it differs from individual to individual. However, all the goals wrapped up into financial independence, as we use here at VM. Mm-hmm. Financial independence really is your ability to acquire anything that you want without any financial strain. And that is the goal, right?
Yes.
So in order to achieve that, it starts from my initial discussion, my initial explanation, where you just have to remain consistent with your investment, and over time, you'll reach there.
Okay. So we've set the goals, and we have this plan to be consistent. Mm-hmm. What is the first step to take if it is that we want to begin this investment journey?
All right. So the first step to take, I like to say there are 4 pillars to investments.
Mm-hmm.
So the first pillar is to start now. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Start now. Not next month, not next week, start now. The second pillar is to be consistent. So it means setting a standing order on your account.
Okay.
I need to pay this $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. All of that depends on your the capacity of your income.
Yes.
Right? The third pillar would be diversification. Ensure that your fund is diversified. So you know you have different exposures to sections of the market. So depending on your risk appetite, that percentage of diversification will um, will be different.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The final one is stay the course.
Okay. Very important.
Don't pull it for that new shoes.
Or phone.
I think I don't. I think they've changed from Bridget sandals these days. I don't know what the ladies are wearing.
I don't know.
You, can, you understand? Don't pull for anything else, but just
Mm-hmm.
stay the course. And and that will help you to achieve your goals. Your goals now, when it comes to your goals, what you need to consider is, all right, are these long-term goals? Are these short-term goals?
Mm-hmm.
How much do I need to invest in order to reach those goals? You
Okay.
understand? So these are all thought processes that comes in when you are setting your goals.
All right. So just break it down for us a bit. In terms of short term, medium term, long term goals. What is a short term goal?
All right, in financial language, a
Mm-hmm.
short-term goal is anywhere between 1 to 3 years.
Okay.
All right, medium-term goals, anything that you need to accomplish in another 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Long-term is anything in excess of 5 years.
So we have to determine which category or goal
Which category?
falls in.
Yeah, but I mean anything up to 3 years, so not
Mhm.
necessarily 3 years, but it can be 6 months, a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess determining which category it falls in will then help us to know
What steps to take?
what steps to take in terms of what investment options.
Most
Um,
definitely.
All right. So say for instance, a short-term goal,
Mhm.
1 to 3 years. What does that goal look like in terms of specificity? I mean, you've spoken to people
Mhm.
over the years, so just pull from your experiences of what a short-term goal is and how somebody made a kind of plan and remain consistent in terms of achieving that short-term goal.
Okay, so a short-term goal may be simply just the acquisition of a motor vehicle.
Okay.
I am not able to acquire a new vehicle because the monthly payments differ.
Yeah.
However, in acquiring an older vehicle, you need to make a deposit. I want to reach that deposit. How do I make that deposit?
Mm-hmm.
I want 300,000 in 6 months,
Okay.
but no, I need to consider what my deposit. I'm saying 300,000 will be the deposit.
Yeah.
That would be some sort of a short-term goal, and it goes further depending on what that goal is.
Okay. All right. So we know that there are different investment options, as I mentioned before. You have the local stock market and you have the US stock market. How do Jamaicans get involved in the US stock market?
Very simple process. It's as simple as you getting onto the local stock market. So first you express your interest. We do a little questionnaire on you, and you complete an application form.
Yes.
That application form will be submitted to Interactive Broker, which is the international brokerage firm that we use. And then a profile will be created for you, and now you get access to Interactive Broker where you can do your trades. We support you by you can do your deposits through us, right? And we get it receipted to the platform, and we also guide you by giving you stock picks, stock recommendations, analysis on the market, and analysis on some products,
Okay.
some companies.
And that advice, how is it done? I guess it depends on whenever the client is available. So
not necessarily, because what we do on a daily basis at VM really is we do. Trust me, if you're a VM client, you would
have access.
You would realize that you get daily update on the market.
Yeah.
We do weekly stock picks, and every now and then we do research and analysis on a particular company that is listed. So, and that is the same for international the international market.
But I imagine for persons who are, say for instance, just getting started, I guess you get more granular and get more specific with
Yeah,
in
so
terms of
that is when you stay very close to your wealth advisor.
definitely.
You become friends,
Yes.
right? And then you're guided on a day-to-day basis. Because I've started with clients who had no expertise whatsoever when it came to stock, to the stock market.
Yes.
I have my clients, those same clients, are calling me now, Trace, what do you think about Grace? Just for argument's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this on the stock market, and I realized that last year the profits dipped. What you think is going to happen next year? And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
man.
I mean, that's something to look into,
Yeah.
and just like that. So when you garner the interest, then you realize you start reading up, and you sometimes become the advisor.
Yeah.
And I get clients from those clients because, yo, Trace got me started. And I think you should because look at my portfolio now. And I'm like, wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
And in terms of people have this concept that investing is for people with money, people who already have money. What's your response to that?
A complete myth.
Okay.
Complete myth. Because, I mean, if we have money, we don't need money. It's a way to build wealth. Investment is to build wealth. So we here at VM Wealth, we have portfolios starting from as minimal as $10,000. Comparative to the competition, you'd realize that that's very low.
Yeah.
And then you can add like $5,000 per month, right? We go up to $50,000. You had $10,000 per month, and then we have US portfolios that starts from $500.
Okay. All right, cool.
We here at VM, we believe in inclusivity. So we set our portfolios at a point that you can get involved and you can build your wealth. Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned that investing is to create wealth.
It is to create wealth.
So how do we move from just this short-term goal to investing to create generational wealth?
All right. So generational wealth for me is ensuring that every year you're building wealth. And I'm going to explain. It seems like I'm repeating
Every year
myself.
you're doing what?
Building your wealth.
Building your wealth.
How do I build my wealth year over year? So there is this nagging thing called inflation. Ensure that whatever you're earning per year exceeds inflation.
Okay.
Understand? And you continue to build on that. So this is where you sit with your advisor, talk everything through, right? What portfolios work for you, because then you, outside of the portfolio that works for you, then there is the risk associated with those portfolio and what you can take. We call it your risk appetite.
Yeah.
What kind of risk you want to take, right? And then on top of that, now you will realize that it's a foundation for you building on your generational wealth. You open an account for your child. If you are doing $50,000 for yourself, you do a $10,000 for your child. They don't necessarily need that money right now. I mean, depending on the age of the child.
Yeah.
So you continue to do that over time.
And it grows.
And when that child reaches a particular age, then you start giving that child a statement. This is what I've done. This is how I've done it for you. You understand? Your allowance, you'll be surprised the allowances, because I think my disposable income was way more when I was in school. You understand? So you realize that they'll have a lot more money and they'll start now investing. You understand? And that's setting the tone for the generation. So I've done it. My child now does it, and it will pass on over time. And now later on, your wealth become theirs, and it's building on top of it. And it's just a process, and it cycles.
And you mentioned earlier in the conversation about diversifying the portfolio. Why?
All right. So I believe in diversity because, so we have several products here at VM. We have several classes, let's put it that way. We have unit trust. We have unit trust that ranges from low risk to high risk. We have equities trading, very high risk because of the volatility of the market. Then you have bonds. Bonds are medium risk, but long term, right? And then we have government securities, which are really repurchase agreements, right? Okay. Those are very low risk, all right? but the returns on those portfolios differ based on risk.
Yeah.
So the lower the risk,
The
the
lower
lower the
returns.
returns.
Yeah.
The higher the risk, the higher the return.
Or
But you
loss.
don't want to put everything. No, we don't use loss.
All right.
Right? No, think about it. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket because
Okay.
stock markets is the best opportunity to earn, but it's very volatile, right? So you put your money in the stock. You want to put some money in the stock market, but not all of it, because if last year or this year was something to teach you about all your eggs in one basket, last year the market fell about 40, no, a little over 30%, right? That would have seriously hurt somebody who had just gone into it. But what you would have realized is that had you been in it 3, 4 years ago,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you would have seen the numbers drop, but you still wouldn't have lost.
Just a scrape.
You understand?
Yeah.
Just a scrape. You understand what I'm saying? So what you want to do is ensure that, okay, based on your risk appetite, you arrange your portfolio likewise. Okay, I am very moderate, so I'm going to put about 70% of my investment in a moderate portfolio, like a unit trust portfolio. Say, for example, a real estate portfolio that continues to generate even in this harsh time,
Yeah.
right? And then I'll expose myself to, say, 30% of high risk. Should the market fall, right, I'm still not
Severely impacted.
severely impacted
Yeah.
because I still have 70% of my portfolio that consistently grows. You understand?
Following. Yeah.
That's what diversity helps us with.
Okay.
You understand? And why I said we don't use loss, because the concept of investing is when the market falls, the prices fall.
Okay.
When the prices fall, that's the best time to invest.
Okay. Opportunity.
You understand?
Yes.
That's opportunities. Trust me. In 2008, we had the same issue with the market. It fell.
Yeah.
And then, fast track a decade later, we're winning the best stock market in the world.
Yeah.
Right? So it gets back. So you want to be sitting sweet when it sets back.
Mhm.
Right? So
And I guess from the earlier conversation about consistency,
consistency.
I guess patience and consistency
That's
will
right.
help you on along your investment journey. So tell me something, Trace. What is your outlook for the investment scene for 2022?
All right. So what you've realized is that 2020, the market fell. And looking at Jamaica Stock Exchange, not Jamaica Stock Exchange, looking at the stock market locally and internationally, and then we're looking at the entire market, right? The market, not all parts of the market, money does not leave the market, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
So people get scared, people pull it from a portfolio, it sits somewhere, it doesn't leave,
Yeah.
right? It just moves from one area to the next. So what people would have pulled money from the stock market, but it went somewhere else.
Yeah.
All right. What happened last year, 2020, was that the market fell. 2021, it starts to steady, but it's not. Some companies grew, right? Some continue to struggle, but the average is that it's a little tilt. It's not anything extravagant. 2022, with the more take up of vaccine, people are getting comfortable. Companies are reopening. There's a return to not the normal that we've been used to, but there's some sort of return to normalcy, right? It means that the market will now start to surge.
Mm-hmm.
Will now start to surge. So I'm expecting an awesome 2022.
Okay.
So the plan is to prepare yourself for that, because if you can get the cheap investment,
Mm-hmm.
and I say cheap because units are low price now, then you can be sitting on the good side when it surges.
So all right. So if there were to be three steps that people or potential investors should follow for 2022, what would that be? Come January morning, what should they do?
I'm going to go back to my pillars
Mm-hmm.
for this. Start now. Consistency is, I can't stress it anymore. You have to always remain consistent,
Yeah.
right? The diversity of the portfolio is important. It is important, especially for long-term goals. And stay the course.
And stay the course.
Stay the course.
All right.
And when you're investing, do not put it there to say, okay, I'm going to put it there to see what I can get and take it off. All right?
Okay.
Because that can, trust me, when I just started investing and I started with equities, and when I see that market moving, I tell you, my heart is like, I couldn't watch the market.
Oh, you pull out your money already?
No, I didn't actually pull, but I was like, no, I can't do this. I stopped watching like the daily movements because the thing is that the market will move throughout the year.
Yeah.
But it's where it ends is what is important.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like planting a tree. We don't watch it grow, but we ensure that it's watered.
Mm-hmm.
We ensure that it's fertilized. We do the things to ensure that we get growth. And it's the same way you treat your investment.
Yeah.
You understand? Do what it needs, give it what it needs to grow, and let it grow.
Okay. And just before we go, for persons who have never invested before and probably don't want to do the everyday watering, as you just mentioned, probably a unit trust account is an ideal investment option for them, you think. How do they get involved with investing in the unit trust with VM Wealth?
All right, so first and foremost, you open your account with Wealth. Very easy process. It's proof of income, which is your last pay advice, proof of address, any utility bill payable in your name, 2 references. We can share the categories with you, lawyer, doctors, similar to opening a bank account. We now also have any client with an updated account, which means that all documents for them are updated, can be a reference as well. Then ID and TRN, and then you complete some documents. That's it. You're onto the system.
Simple. When
you look at unit trust now, your advisor will sit with you and discuss your risk appetite. So if it's an equity portfolio, and by equity portfolio I mean an equity unit trust portfolio,
okay,
right? That is also high risk. We want to know whether or not we look at categories to fit you in. What age bracket do you belong to? So the age bracket helps us to determine, can you take too much high risk? You understand? Or if I'm 50, I probably don't want to risk all my investment. So I do this percentage of it in an equity unit trust. We do in a moderate like property portfolio, or we have a money market portfolio. It gains small interest, but it's very consistent, right? So we diversify based on that. So that discussion is tailored based on the individual.
Okay. So there you have it. Thank you so much, Trace, for being here with us today. This has been a really meaningful conversation. And it reminds us that even though we can enjoy the holidays, it kind of pays off on our long-term goals, that is, if we just focus and just stick to the plan. So thank you for being here. All right, so keep sharing your questions and your comments in the chat. We would love to hear from you, and our team will continue to answer your questions. If it is that you would like to get in touch with us, with the VM Wealth Management team, please just send us an email at wealthinfo@myvmgroup.com or call us at 876-960-5000. Make sure you're also following the VM Wealth YouTube channel and on our LinkedIn pages so you can keep up to date with our financial education and our investment content for the rest of your investment journey. I'm Darian Reed. This has been Wealth Talks. Thank you for joining us. Have a happy holiday and a blessed new year. Stay safe.